Hi, everybody. Welcome back to season 3 of
Focus at 40.
I am Kathy Goodall. I am a marketing consultant. I am a leadership and growth coach. I'm a sociologist. I am a podcaster, a YouTuber, a blogger, and I am proud duo of Focus at 40.
And I am Genesis Etienne. I am a marriage and family therapist, a licensed mental health counselor. I am also an entrepreneur, a new investor. I am a mom. I am also a sociologist. I am also in marketing now. I mean, I think we're a little bit of everything at this point in our careers and in this age. So, hi, Boo. I've missed you. I've missed you.
I have missed you. I mean, we don't get to see each other as often as we used to, guys. But
Because, guys, okay, so let's start the season right away, right? We don't see each other as often because Catherine has decided to boycott traveling after a long and not even tumultuous. It was great. A long and a long ride, but a lot of travel for a while there for you.
yeah,
So,
I
tell
was
us.
definitely on a plane every month, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month. And now I live on the West Coast, well, Mountain West. So I'm not, East Coast. And a lot of the travel last year was to the East Coast and to the Caribbean. And so I got burnt out. And so we are going to talk about burnout today, guys. And I think understanding that burnout is not necessarily just something bad or that's caused by something bad. Because every time I traveled, if it wasn't for work, it was for family or somebody that was close to me. But the reality is that traveling takes a toll on your body. It physically takes a toll on you. And so I just got tired. I was tired of being on a plane. I was tired of being away from my home. I moved into a new house, a new home, new city in July of last year. And between July and January, I had maybe spent 3 weekends at my house. Maybe,
Mm-hmm. No, I know. I know. I know.
you
I
know?
remember being on the phone with you, and you know what happens is that I think that burnout happens in a bunch of different situations, all happening at one time, right? It's never bothered you to travel. You've
Yeah.
always been a travel bug for as long as I've known you, and you've always been ripping and running. But you know what? Add to it some new circumstances, add to it some new people, add to it some new, good and bad stress, and all of a sudden, it's a recipe for really having to kind of reprioritize what's what's the best thing for me and for my husband or and for my family. So, do you feel like are you still burnt out? What's going on with you?
No, I am not. So the truth is that I took the time to think about what are the areas in my life that I have been burnt out. So it's not just the trouble, it's with work. I mean, I had clients that I just didn't want anymore. I was doing jobs and projects that I just didn't want to do anymore because they were mentally draining. They were even emotionally draining to some extent because I didn't want to do it. My heart wasn't in it. My passion wasn't there. Yes, I could do it, but it also made me um, give less. And that's not who I am.
Right.
So, the burnout also came up in different areas of different relationships. So, like some friendships that I had, I was like, maybe this one needs to get a little bit less attention, and because burnout, when it comes to thinking about how our energy, how our emotional, spiritual, even burnout from not being able to go to church on a Sunday in a space that fills me because I haven't found a church here yet. I'm watching church online. It's not the same thing. It all of those things add to burnout, because it's being in an uncomfortable space with things not working the way you want to, and it becomes draining. And so one area of your life can make you feel burnt out in a different area. So that drain can affect you physically, that drain can affect you emotionally, it can affect you mentally.
Emotionally, spiritually, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, I think that again, right? So burnout happens in a plethora of different places in our life, right? We can be totally great in one area, but usually burnout comes with changes, right? You feel different, you feel dragging, you feel like you're not fully there. You feel like you don't want to do it. You feel like you can't attend to it. We spoke a lot last season about how we fill our cups, right? And so for you, if filling your cup are things like going to church, right? Having family or community near you. Even some work to a certain degree also
Certainly.
fills your cup because I
Yeah.
know you, because you're such a giver, and because you know that's such a part of who you are. So when you're not actively filling that cup, these are the dangers of not doing those things.
But
It's that.
I shared on our page about your last trip here, and just two things come to mind when you talk about filling your cup. One, surrounding yourself with the right people, and two, being in the right environment. And so it just took for you to come and visit. And it was the first time she was coming to my new home, because she's come to our old home before. And she came into the space that's supposed to be my office, and it was just stuff. It was suitcases and boxes full of my stuff, because I hadn't created a space for them yet. And when she was going through it, she said to me, everything in here is familiar to you, and this is all a representation of you, of who you are.
You're
And
gonna find yourself in there. Yeah, you'll find yourself in there,
And I had been working from the kitchen counter or the dining room table from July until January. And so I didn't really have a space that I felt was mine. And that's also contributed to burnout, because it wasn't, it's being unsettled. It's being unsettled and uneasy, and just not being able to be
discontent.
at peace.
Discontent. Yeah.
But what about you? What kind of burnouts have you experienced in the past couple of months?
So I'll be honest, I have felt the biggest burnout for me has come in a professional kind of way, simply because I work with healthcare and insurances, and there's been so much craziness. And so, I'm subcontracted, and we're going to talk about that too, right? As a single woman this season, what does finances look like? What does financial danger look like? What does financial savviness look like? Because part of what makes me not burnt out is security, right? I always want to know that I'm financially comfortable, that my bills are paid, that my children are well, and not only that, right? That I can do the things that I want to do. And so that to me is really important. And so my job in the last year and a half has been this railroad and an up and a down. And so that will burn me out, and I feel like I've kind of been there. And so some of the ways that I've been able to reconcile that burnout is to understand that this is my job. In a lot of ways, therapy and this world, social services is my purpose, but it's not going to be what gets the job done for me every time. And so it's important that I seek outside ways to do that, right? Um, but really, I'm grateful that I think that I've done a lot of self care. You know, one of the joys of being single is that you get to spend a lot of time on you. You know, and so I have spent a lot of time writing, and I've spent a lot of time in prayer, and I've spent a lot of time with, friends, girlfriends, you. I came to visit you, and I've spent really good quality time with my kids. So I'm grateful that burnout hasn't taken me out, in the last few months. But the financial burnout has definitely changed, I feel like, the trajectory of my work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's going to be a good thing. It kind of goes back to the rest of the season, which is going to be about. I've been in this kind of work for the last 3 or 4 years, and before that, I was in different work, and before that. But every few years, as I'm ready to change happens, right? So if you build it, they will come kind of deal. And every time that I feel like I'm ready for something new, it happens, you know.
Yeah, and
But
I
you got to
think
be
that that
courageous with it.
burnout
You got to
I
be
think
courageous.
that burnout helps us to know when change is necessary.
Absolutely. It's a nudge to me, you know.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's
I
not
mean,
feeling like you're doing your best anymore.
right.
It's go ahead.
No, and I was just going to say that, when we feel that way, we have to pause, and we have to do some real introspection and reflection on what is causing us to feel like this, and what are the choices that I have to make now in order to either stop it, or help to alleviate it in some way. Making choices like, is this something that I just need to stop doing? Is this something that I maybe need to give less time to? Is this something that I just need to write it out right now, because next week it will be gone, or next month it will be gone? you know. And that's in every area of our life, in our relationships, in our work, in our, you know, our home life, in our friendships. All of those things need an analysis if it's starting to become a strain, if it's starting to make you feel like, oh, why is this person calling me now, you know.
So I don't know. I think that, so going back to burnout and, almost like a lack of burnout, because I remember last year I had like, there was like relationships were the theme last year, some difficulties, but also some really great developing, some really great friendships that really formed and were really rich and really awesome, but also, cutting ties with a lot of other folks, you know what I mean? And so this year, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm burnt out with friendships because again, because I've been doing this, I've been doing the work so that I'm not overwhelmed by a friendship or by a relationship that pulls and that drains me. It's so funny. I think about last season and I really did put to practice all of the things that we spoke about. You know what I mean? And so now in season 3, I'm really excited because the support system is really good. Making the move, right? I know that last season we spoke about what it takes to make that move, right? What does that look like on the other side of fear? Like what's on the other side of this thing? And while I'm still not 100% comfortable with change because you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's uncertain, right? And again, the security thing for me is really important, you know? So uncertainty to me always equals fear. And I have to know, it's a constant reminder to myself, like, I cannot fear. Fear and faith can't live in the same place, you know? Um, and that on the other side of that, there is greater and bigger. And that I'm also being pulled in that way, you know? I spoke about it in the blog that those nudges, that burnout is a nudging, and I think of it as a nudging from God, as a nudging from life, as a nudging from our purpose, that it's time for this to now go this way, and it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to
Yeah.
be uncomfortable, right? um but I'm going to provide, and it's going to be fine, and you're going to be great on the other side of that thing, but it's getting there. So I'm really excited about the rest of the season because we're going to be looking at the ways that we burn out and that we start over, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that the beauty about burnout is that it gives us, like you said, that nudge, and it's something that we can actually do something about. It's not a case where we have to perpetuate it, you know. It's a trigger. It's something that it's a trigger to tell us we need to stop and think about what's next. What's the next choice that I'm going to have to make in order to not feel this way, you know? And I mean, yeah, adulting is real and not everything is perfect. Some things you
Oh
just have to
my
ride
God.
them out and know that, okay, after this month, I get to breathe in this area. You know, I just finished a series on breathing room in at church, and it's looking at breathing room in different areas of our lives, in our finances, in our time, in our physical space, you know, like our closets or our offices, our cars. Do they look like a junkyard, or is it giving us margin? And I think for burnout, you know, it means allowing ourselves margin in different areas of our lives. And so I mean, living at the edge, you're always going to feel like you're being suffocated. You're
Right.
always going to feel tired. You're always going to feel like there's not enough hours in the day.
Yes.
But when we give ourselves that margin, is when we start to get the breathing room and we don't get the burnout as much. So, you know, is it that like making the decision that we're just not going to travel this quarter? For the first 3 months of the year, we're not going anywhere. We're going to be at home. We're going to build our home. We're going to live in our home. Whoever
Yes.
wants to see us has to come and visit us. And let me tell you.
Oh my God. And she's had a packed house. Like, yes. I love it. I love it. Everybody's coming to visit. I love it, guys. I'll give you the address. Everybody's come.
but you know, that might soon be get stale as well. Maybe soon I'm gonna be like, I don't want
Right.
anybody
Nobody's
here.
coming. Nobody's coming. No, listen, whatever it is that you got to do,
Mhm.
whatever it is that you have to do to take care of yourself, you have to do it at the expense of that, right? Because burnout has real consequences. As a therapist and as the director of mental health agencies, burnout equals exhaustion.
Mhm.
It equals hardened relationships. It equals lack of self hygiene and an inability to want to take care of yourself. So there is an alternative, right? But we talked about life inventories. What are some of the areas in your life that you can expand? Some of that breathing room. What is some of that breathing room? What are some of the areas? Because, it's so easy to talk about burnout and then to be able to like take a vacation, right? Or just have like a career change. But a lot of people can't do that. They can't take off time to think, or they
Yeah.
can't, they don't have that resource or they don't have. So you've got to be able to take time for yourself and to think about the things that refresh you,
Yeah,
that
but
do fill your
I
cup.
think a lot of the time too, we put ourselves in situations and we don't realize that we are the reason that we are burnt out, right? So, for example, you talk about creating margins in your time. You need to be able to look at a day and say, or even a week at a time, if you don't want to look at it a day at a time, and see what are the things in my day or in my week that I don't actually need to be doing. Likewise, in my
Definitely.
finances, if I know that my income is my expenses are exceeding my income, then what are the areas that I need to cut back? Am I eating out too much? Am I buying too much crap at the grocery store? You know what I mean? Like the truth of the matter is that we a lot of the time, the what does our room look like? If I walk into my closet now, am I going to feel like it's confusion or am I going to feel at peace? If I walk into my
Yes.
office,
You know,
if I
you know
walk
how I
into my
live.
office, am I working in a space that is crowded, that is cluster, full of cluster? Because our environment also matters. We can breathe more, we feel more at peace when our environment is at peace. And so if we really took the time to do an assessment of our life and how we're operating, where are the spaces that we need to create breathing room in order
Definitely.
to not feel that heavy burnout? Because the truth
Yes.
is, even if we're feeling burnt out at work right now, even if we're every day we have a deadline and we need to get this done over the next 2 weeks, okay, now where can I create room in the rest of my life that everything doesn't feel like it's coming down on me at one time? you know let's talk about burnout in our relationships and creating breathing room in those relationships. So,
Yeah.
you know is it that I am prioritizing something else over my home. And so now my home is becoming a place of discomfort because I'm not gonna lie, let's be real. My husband is traveling, right? And my
Let's get
bed
to the girl. Let's get
my
the
bed
juice.
has not been made in 2 days. The sink is full of dishes
You
because,
know I do not approve. You
yeah,
know I
but
do
guess
not
what
approve.
though? But guess what? I have been able to be extremely productive in the last 2 days because I have sat in my office, which isn't a neat and tidy space, and I have done so many things in the last 2 days. Tomorrow, I'll get to the dishes. Maybe I'll actually use the dishwasher for
Reprioritize.
a change.
Reprioritize.
And
You
that's
know
the
what?
point.
Burnout can also happen, but can also happen that way, right? Oh my God, I need to have the dishes done. Oh my God, I need to do this before he gets home. Oh my God. I mean, I
Exactly.
don't talk that much about my life, but oh my God, I mean, I am the way that I am because there's been
Yeah.
a certain amount of anxiety to get shit done,
And guess what? The truth
and
is,
that creates burnout.
and so sometimes some things just have to give room to breathe in another space, right? I
Yeah.
needed to get these things done. Like I finished my book finally. It's done. Yes, I printed the
Yes!
copy today. And
Oh
what?
my God, I'm so excited.
But guess what? If I didn't sit in here yesterday and not care about what's going on in the house, I know
Correct.
it will get done. I know the dishes will be washed. I know my bed will be made tomorrow. You know what I mean? But the point
No.
is, I'm not living in a pigsty. I'm locked in my room and I'm focused on something. And so that has now given me breathing room to be able to do these things.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad that it's all, I'm glad that you feel like re-energized. You've definitely given me some re-energized vibes. But again, babe, for a while there, I think it was just a lot at the same time. And so we all kind of need to, I'm glad that you have said, and you know what? And again, right, reprioritizing what's important to you. Let me make my space right? Because it's really beautiful. Acorns they come out of fire, right? The way that an acorn opens up is it needs to be heat, right? There needs to be like heat for it to open.
Good.
Okay. The only way that acorns open like that is after a fire, a wildfire in a forest,
I
right?
didn't know that.
Yeah. So sometimes in order to get that, we need that burnout. We need that burnout. We need to clear that bush, right? That bush needs to clear so that new life, you know,
Yeah.
fire is not always bad, right?
Listen, my when Lauren came to visit, and Lauren said to me, I feel like you're making beds every day. And I'm like, you're right.
Right.
Because literally because of the turnover of people that we've had at the house, it's like
Oh, got it.
doing
Okay. I thought you
laundry
had.
and making three more beds on top of mine. And so guess what? I wash the sheets and the sheets are not spread, the beds are not spread because I was just like, okay, I'm done. The sheets are clean. I'll spread the bed when the next set of people come. But guess what? Who cares? I don't
I'm not
care.
doing it. Listen to you. Oh my God. You know that okay. You know that I'm gonna get on a plane and like come and spread your beds for you
I know.
because this
She
is
said she was coming back to clean my house and sort out my closet, guys. My house is not dirty, by the way. Let me just say. I know it sounds like I'm very messy and untidy. It's not the case. My house is, and when I say my sink is full of dishes, it's like maybe 5 things in there.
it's
Okay. It's
like
not
5 cups.
overflowing.
It's like 5 cups and maybe like a little cereal bowl. It's not anything, you guys. You
Yeah. It's
know.
not, there's no
So
pots.
you
There's no
know.
dirty pots. And it's not because I don't cook, by the way. No, it's like last
Listen,
week. It's the same. Last week, I cooked literally every day. On Friday, I was like, I'm not cooking today.
no, hell no, we don't cook on Fridays.
Yeah. I'm just like, I'm not cooking today.
Good for you. Good for you
You
because you
know,
know what? What's not gonna happen is we're not gonna burn out. That's what's not gonna happen. Okay.
exactly. So, guys, at the end of the day, what we're telling you is that burnout is real. It happens to all of us, but we need to create the breathing room in our lives. And sometimes it means creating it in one area while we know that we can't really do anything about it in another area today, because that helps to create some level of balance, right? So, what are the areas in your life that you need to look at that you are experiencing burnout? And what are the choices you're going to make to mitigate against that burnout? Because the truth is, it will make you physically sick. It will make you, emotionally drained. It will make you physically drained. So there has to come a point where you pause and think about what do I need to stop doing? What do I need to start doing? And what maybe do I need to do a little bit less of in my life to help to alleviate some of this burnout?
I agree. I also want you guys to pay attention to your thoughts around it, right? And how your thoughts talk to you about your changes. Are you telling yourself, oh my God, I'm in this dead end job forever. I'm never going to get out of this. You know what? This man and me have been together forever. And who cares if he's been beating me? I'm not going to find somebody better. What are your own thoughts telling you about the changes that you need to make? Or do your thoughts encourage you or do your thoughts hold you back? You know what I mean? And how can you change that a little bit? How can you combat some of that negative thinking so that you are thinking in ways that are progressive and that are going to get you past whatever is burning you out at the moment, you know?
Yeah.
So I hope this was helpful.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for joining us for our first episode of season 3. We'll see you again next week.
Bye.
Bye.